Hello, welcome to another episode of Airgun Reviews and Pesting Channel. Out to my 30-yard backstop, I have a piece of siding from a farm permission. I asked the farmer if he had any scrap pieces, and he said yes. So I decided to take a piece of this siding, which is the same as the roof, and do some preliminary testing between the 177 caliber versus the 22. And I also have a couple brake barrels, one in 177 and one in 22. These are the candidates: P15 in 177, Hatsan Vectus 22, HW95 and 22 caliber, Air Arms S510 177 with adjustable power, puncher breaker with adjustable power, the Detroit Lions Slava CZ634 and 177, and I forgot the Verminator, FX Verminator, but I'll get that out. That is in 22 with also adjustable power. We are going to do the Mythbusters. We will see which caliber can penetrate that siding, which is 20 thousandths is what my calipers measured, which would be 25 gauge, which is thin. But let's get on with the test, and we'll look at the results afterwards. Hello, welcome to another episode of Airgun Reviews and Pesting Channel. What I have in front of you is a piece of sheet metal that I got from a farmer on one of my permissions, and I wanted to do a little study, as you may, or a test. 177 versus 22, one of my favorite calibers. 25 is also my favorite, but in a pesting scenario at a dairy farm, for instance, 25, unless you're shooting outside in a safe environment, I don't know how to use 25, because it boils right down to 1.7 and 2.2. So I went to farmer. I asked him, I said, hey, you ever have a piece of siding or roofing that you don't need, and I want to conduct an experiment between a 177 caliber and 22 caliber air rifle for over penetration tests? And the farmer said, sure, yeah, I got a piece for you can have. So he gave me this piece that you see right here. So when I got home, I measured it, 20 thousandths, which is 25 gauge sheet metal. And I asked the farmer, and I said, is that pretty much what a lot of dairy farmers like yourself have in these barns? I said, yeah, for the most part, that's about right. Right gauge for the roof and the siding. I said, okay. So I went ahead and set this piece of siding up to conduct my test at 30 yards. And I figured 30 yards would be a pretty good compromise, you know, for doing some indoor pesting inside these barns. 30 yards is, I feel, is about average. So I set it up and I took these guns, P15 and 177 caliber. Here's a P15 and 177, have in front of you. Air Arms S510 FX Verminator. The Air Arms S510 is also 177. The FX Verminator is a 2.2. Hatsan Vectus 2.2. Crowd Puncher Breaker in Marine 2.2. HW 95 brake barrel in 2.2, and my Detroit Lions gun, the Slava CZ 634 and 177. So I'm going to talk about each and every one of these guns here, starting with the P15. We go over here. These three holes right here, first, second, third, shooting H&N Barracuda at 10.65 grain. This is the first hole at 854 feet per second, which gave me 17.25 FPE, foot-pounds of energy, for those that don't know. Second shot, 8.44 grain JSB, 907 feet per second, or 19.46 foot-pounds. Third one, H&N Barracuda Green 6.44, 978 at 22.62 foot-pounds. So, as you can see, the 177, it didn't matter about the weight of the pellet. It still, at 30 yards, made a clean shot right through the siding. Now, that's with the P15. Let me go get another gun. Air Arms S510 177. Okay. When I shot the gun, I heard it hit the tin, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It hit up here behind the tape. It left a hole in the tape. I tore that part off. That was the first shot, which surprised me. Same pellet, H&N Barracuda 10.65, 866. So I shot it twice. Once here, one here. Which gave 17.74 foot-pounds of energy. I cannot for the life of me figure out why it did not penetrate. But the P15 did, with almost 10 feet per second difference. But this is the air arms. 2 shots went there. Okay. Then I adjusted it, the power, because it's got a power adjuster. I adjusted the power down to the middle, which ended up hitting the same spot at 761 feet per second, which gave me 13.7 foot-pounds of energy. And then I dialed all the way down, and this was the third, actually fourth shot, because I couldn't find this one, so this would be the fourth shot. I fired two shots right here at 866, then 761, hit it here, same spot, and then the one at 405, which gave it 3.88 foot-pounds. 405 feet per second, 3.88 foot-pounds. That's for the air arms. Okay. Next gun. FX Verminator. MK2. I moved the tape up. Again, I couldn't tell where it hit, but this is the hole right here. And that is with a 15.89 grain, 834 feet per second. Verminator has a power wheel. I love power wheels. You can adjust the power level to whatever you want. All guns should have power wheels. P15, the only way you can adjust the power is if you back the hammer spring on the back part of the P15. Either turn it in more power or turn it back out for less power. It would be handy if you knew how many turns or made a notch or whatever, so you know how far to turn the power wheel to get a certain foot-pounds of energy you're looking for. But I kind of figured that at 834 feet per second, it gave 24.55 foot-pounds of energy with a 15.89. It just went right through it, no problem. And okay, and then the second shot, same pellet. Same pellet. Okay, that's right. Let me back up. I didn't know where this one was at, so I shot it second time. That's right. So these two are the same at 834 feet per second. These two right here. Put the power wheel to number 2, 591, which gave it 12.33 foot-pounds of energy. So it didn't even bother penetrating. And that's what I usually shoot at, is at power level 2. And there's a result. At 30 yards, it didn't even penetrate. Left a dent. Dent's better than a hole. So, didn't penetrate. And then power level 1 was 469, which is this one right here. and that was 7.76 foot-pounds of energy. Now this is with a 15 grain. That's what I love about Power Wheels. I think all guns should have adjustable Power Wheels. Okay. Next gun. The Hatsan Vectis 22. (835 feet per second with an 18.13 grain for 28.08 foot-pounds of energy. There is no power wheel, so even at 838 foot-pounds of energy, that's what the 18.13 grains did. Now, it likes that speed at 835. It likes that particular pellet, 18 grain. So that's the reason why I'm shooting 18 grains. Now, that's with Hatsan Vectis. Next gun up, Corral Puncher Breaker. Adjustable power wheel right there. And 2.2. Okay. Now, you got 4 dents here. 2 holes and 2 dents. Full power on the power wheel, 851 for 29.16 foot-pounds. $761, turned it down, produced the second hole at 23.32 foot-pounds of energy. Third one, I'm gonna dial down to number 3, 606. That wasn't good. 606 or 14.79 foot-pounds. And the gun didn't fall off the table, just fell off the stand, so thank God for that. And then the fourth one down here was 526 for 11.14 foot-pounds of energy. So for this particular gun, I would want to dial it down to power level 2 and 1. 2 being 606 feet per second and 14.79 foot-pounds, but that's with an 18.13 grain too. Okay, so that's what I would have to use in order to not put any holes in the farmer's roof or siding. On to the next gun. The Wyrock HW 95 and 22 brake barrel. Now, I only took one shot right here and just made a dent, and that's with a 14.35 grain JSB at 684 feet per second, which gave me 18.84 foot-pounds of energy. So, even though I shot out to 30 yards, it still left a dent, but didn't penetrate. Next gun. The Slava CZ-634-177, also known as Detroit Lions gun, as my friend would call it. I cracked up when he said that. But it is Detroit Lions colors, football team. Again, didn't know where the shot hit. It was covered up with tape. So I took 2 shots. And that's with a H&N Barracuda 10.65 grain. These 2 shots right here did not penetrate. But it's also shooting at a lower speed at 657 feet per second or 10.21 FPE. Then the next pellet, these 2 holes here. This one here was a JSB 8.44. As the speed went up, the holes started going in. That was 10.38 foot-pounds of energy. This one here, which is a hole, that was the alloy 6.64 at 833 feet per second or 10.23 foot-pounds of energy. So, what does this all mean? Well, I'm going to do another test for sure with this piece of aluminum. To me, it appears that 177 is even at a 10 point, anything over 10 grains, it's still going to go through the siding. Doesn't make any difference, you know. And I miss, and I know plenty of other folks out there who's been pested in the barn have missed. So, hey, admit it. I'm not the best shot in the world, but I do miss. And I do miss inside the barns. But I use a 22 caliber. And I also use a 177. So I use both. The advantage with a 2.2 is, as you know, as you can see in some of the tests that, the tests that I've been showing you on the board here, on this, not board, but this piece of siding, the 2.2 at 600 feet per second, I'm using the FX Verminator, and I'm also using the HW95 because at 684 feet per second in a 600, and what's the other one? Crowd Puncher Breaker. Also in the 600s. Anything in the 600 in a 2.2 caliber will not over penetrate in the 600 feet per second range. Brake barrel, the Crowd Puncher Breaker with the adjustable power wheel, Verminator, that was at 591, didn't penetrate. Now, I don't know what's up with the air arm, so I'm going to have to redo that one over again because, I shot it 4 times, and at 866, 2 times, it didn't penetrate, but then at 761 feet per second, didn't penetrate either. So in a 177, you would have to have I would have to have my 177 dialed down to the 700 range, and in order for it not to penetrate this siding. But if the Brits can do it at 12 foot-pounds, hey, when you're inside a barn pesting, it's not about the speed of the gun. As long as, you're 12 foot-pounds. Don't quote me on this, but I know I have some really cheap brake barrels. I think they're around 6 foot-pounds of energy, and at 13 yards, I'm knocking startlings right to the ground with like 5 or 6 foot-pounds of energy. So, but that's at like 13 yards. Now we're talking 30 yards. So the further out you go, the speed decreases, and so does the energy. So right now, it seems like for a 177 to not penetrate, you have to be at 761 feet per second with a 10.65 grain which gives you 13.7 foot-pounds of energy, and it will not penetrate the siding. And as for a 22, you got to be in the 600 range. 600 or under, I would say 700 range. No, I take that back. It had to be low 700s to not over penetrate and put a hole in this siding, because the HW95 is shooting 684 and it produced 18.84 foot-pounds of energy. Now, this last one, this gun right here, at .657, it didn't do I shot it twice with a 10 grain and it produced 10.21 foot-pounds of energy, but the smaller or the less weight the pellet, it sped up the pellet, and then it put a hole right through the siding. So you're better off with a heavier grain pellet if your gun can shoot it accurately. That's the next one. Can your gun shoot it accurately? Let's say 30 to 50 yards, shooting, 12 foot-pounds and under, to say, let's say 40, 50 yards, which I'm sure it does. A gun can shoot that accurately, and still hit the target. But I'm gonna say it's a bust right now for 177, because the 177 seemed to penetrate a lot quicker when the speeds are up in the 800 range. Anything above 800, it's gonna penetrate. Because looking at the Slava, shooting a 10 grain at 744, still put a hole in it. So yes, I'm thinking the 177 is a faster pellet and will over penetrate and put a hole in the siding, is my belief at this point. But I'm going to do some more testing, so it's going to be a part 2 to this. I'm going to tune my P15 down, turn it down into the 700s and lower to see if I can still shoot a 10.65 grain accurately without over penetrating the siding. But I do know with a 22 caliber at 600, was around 600 feet per second, is roughly 12.33 foot-pounds of energy. I'm going to continue this in part 2 and see what kind of results I'm going to get here with the 177. The one thing I do notice with the 177, because I have P15s, crickets, and 177, as well as 2.2 and 2.5. What I do notice about the 177 caliber if you got winds over 10 miles an hour, 177, don't even bother shooting unless you're inside the barn, you know. But if you're gonna be doing any pests on the outside, 22, baby, all the way, 22. Even though it'll buck the wind better than a 177, the 22 will still get blown around. Still, I mean, if it's really super windy out. But your chances of hitting that bird is better with a 22 versus a 177 in the wind. That is for sure. So, anyways, I hope you found this helpful. To be continued in part 2. And we'll go from there. Until then, shoot straight and may your pellet hit the target. See you soon.